Well, hi everybody. How you doing? I am in a very weird place at the moment, a bit surreal, because 2 days ago I went up to Loughborough here in the UK and I entered the English Singles National Championships at 3.0 at my age 65 plus. A lot of you know, I'm 66. Um, Now, why did I do this? I just sort of thought I've got a membership. We've got a membership here at Senior Pickleball Tips of over 100,000. I'm not a coach. I've not had any coaching badges yet. And so I thought, maybe I need a bit of credibility amongst you guys. So I thought, well, for a bit of fun, I'd enter this tournament. What was I expecting? I don't know. Possibly to reach the semi-final, get a bit of cred, and well, who knows? Possibly beyond my wildest dreams, get a bronze medal or something like that. So, as some of you already know, I actually went on and I won it. And those of you who are on the video, I am showing you my medal, which I'm very proud of. Um, now, I don't want this session. Now, I don't want this podcast about Paddy bragging about how he won, about how he won this tournament. This session, this episode is about mental strength and game strategy. So before I started pickleball in November 2023, I played 55 years of tennis. And in that, I played a lot of singles and doubles. And I've often thought I was pretty good at the strategic side of things. I was pretty good at changing my tactics when I needed to, dependent on my opponent, the conditions, etc., etc. And I was always pretty good at mental toughness as well. So when the points got difficult, when the points got even, how to stay in the game mentally. So I just thought, and I don't know if this is going to be helpful for everyone, but I just thought I would share with you guys my story of how Paddy, beyond his wildest dreams, won a gold medal at the National Singles Championships here in England. Well, well, on the day, I arrived really early. So there was as little stress on me as possible. It's a 3 hour drive away. So I got up really early. I did my yoga and my stretches before I left. On the way, I stopped at the motorway and I had breakfast, big English breakfast, not too big. So, because I thought I need a bit of energy, I got to the venue about an hour before I needed to. I parked up, and that was good because there was 4 parking spots left because the organizers had got there beforehand, obviously, and were taping up the courts. So again, I was lucky. I thought I'll get one of those spots, which I did. Um, I registered early, and I checked out on my online timetable for the first round robin 6 matches. I screenshotted that onto my phone so that I had easy access to that. So I wouldn't be fiddling around trying to find it, going through my photos on my phone. So basically, anything that would take stress away, any non playing stress, take that away. And I must say, the online match timetable is an absolute boon. So thank you, Pickleball England, who ran an absolutely amazing tournament up in Loughborough. So I've got then the round robin games, 6 games, against obviously 6 different guys in the 65 plus to 70 category. It was just one set, first to 11. Now, when I started, I was nervous as hell. My hands were shaking. I could look at my right hand. I got a bit of a shake in the right hand anyway, but I mean, it really was shaking. Interestingly, I shared this with my first opponent. And in fact, I shared this with my first 3 or 4 opponents. I said, look at my hand. I'm really nervous. This is my first tournament. And it was. For me personally, I'm a chatty kind of guy. So I go up, I introduce myself to the opponent at the side of the court, shake his hand, say hi, where are you from? That's just who I am. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to be chatty, but, be your own personality. But it is nice to say hi to your opponent, to be friendly, certainly. So I was very chatty, absolutely. So the first game comes along. Now, I had practiced a particular serve with my friend Phil from my tennis club, who is actually doing his coaching badges. And he helped me with this particular serve, which was a long, deep, high serve with as much top spin as I can do. And a couple of days before the tournament, I tried a few of these and they all kind of really seemed to work. And Phil sent me a message that morning and said, Paddy, I was having trouble with that serve. So see if you can get that serve going. So I had that in my mind. And when I was knocking up with the first opponent, we practiced some serves, but I did not do that serve, interestingly, in the practice. I thought I'd try and lay the surprise. And honestly, it worked. That first opponent, David, lovely fellow, and I surprised him with it. And there was this long, loopy topspin serve, quite as long as possible in the service box into his backhand. And he really didn't know how to play it. He got it back, and I just came in and somehow dealt with it. And I won like 11-3 or something like that. And I was shocked. And when I was on a roll, I just kept in the flow. There's something in sport, especially individual sport and maybe double sport, as opposed to like a team sport like rugby or football or soccer. It's called being in the flow. And I got in the flow and I thought, don't think about anything, just stay where you are in the flow. And I did that and I won 3-1. Second match, same again. Again, a huge surprise for me. I played a guy called Stephen. I beat him, I think it was 11-4, very, very similar. And I'm going, what's happening here? I don't really understand. But if it's working, don't change it, right? And it was working, this particular serve. So I kept it going in the third game, a guy called James, and I beat him, I think 11-2 or 11-3. And I'm going, Paddy, what's going on? But try and sort of stay in the moment and don't assume anything. Don't assume everyone's going to buckle under this one sort of tactic that I had. So first 3 games, this serve was working, everything's good. And then in the 4th game, I come across Nigel. Now, Nigel, I know you're going to be listening to this podcast. So hopefully you agree with my assessment. But I knew, look, don't make any assumptions. Don't make any assumptions that your fourth opponent is going to fold sort of like the others. And I didn't make that assumption. I was looking at Nigel in the knock up. He didn't look sort of like a sort of, I don't know, standard player. He was hitting the ball a bit differently, but I could see he was consistent in the knock up, and that worried me. It really worried me. So basically, got into the game, and it was very tight, and very tight, very tight indeed. And I thought, well, I'll get this serve going, everything be fine. Serve failed me. I couldn't do it. For some reason, that serve, the really good, what I'd call a sort of kicker serve, wasn't working for me. I don't know why. I try not to think about it too much. I tried it a couple of times. It didn't really work. So I changed my serve, and I thought, Paddy, the guy's really good. He's going to get pretty much everything back. So don't worry about fancy serves. Just hit it pretty hard, 2/3 in the box, preferably in the corner-ish. And that's the serve that I decided to do, and try not to lose any of the serves. Try not to put any of the serves out. So I was worried, and I went down 1-9. Bearing in mind this was to 11, and I'm thinking, what, Nigel had two great runs, I call them, maybe of 4 points each, and he had me on the ropes. So I very quickly decided to change my tactic completely, and to hit low shots over the net, to sort of slice them. So I was coming in, leaning into my backhand and slicing them, and taking a little bit of a risk and getting them low. And because I changed that, I guess it caught him off guard a bit, and I had a great run of winning points on my serve, maybe 8 points, and we got to 9-all. And I'm going, this is great. I've got a run. And I'm thinking, Paddy, just stay in the flow. And all the time I was taking my time. Before I served, I'd go back to the court, take 2 or 3 breaths, bounce the ball 3 or 4 times, go in, look up, make sure Nigel was ready for me, and then I'd serve. And I was starting to think, I could get this guy 9-all, but look, Nigel dug in, and he broke me a little bit, and then he won the next 2 points, and he won the whole thing 11-10. So I was what a great bit of play by him. He just kept to his game. He kept consistent, and he got me at the end. And it was just a bit too much, I think, to try and get 10 points in a row. So I lost that 4th game. Went up to Nigel, congratulated him, and we've become quite good friends, actually, quite good mates. More about him later in this episode. So anyway, on the 5th game, I played David, and I was ready to lose. I thought, I've kind of lost it here. What do I do? Keep consistent, keep focused, take your time, keep your service rhythm going, and just see what you can do. I had a friend of mine from my pickleball club, Surrey Downs Pickleball Club, here in Surrey in the UK, Alan, and he was at the tournament as well, and he's a better player than I am, far better and younger and stronger. And he was at the sidelines, and he just sort of said, look, just keep going, play your own game. Very encouraging, very helpful. So I went on and I played David. Things went okay. I sort of got back to my previous form, and I won it, I think 11-4. And then I start thinking, oh my God, if I'm going to get into this semi-final, I've got to win this last game against this guy called Malcolm. I've got to win it. Now, I generally do not research my opponents, because you get to know who your opponents are before a tournament. And I don't research them. I don't look at them and see what ranking they were and everything like that. I prefer to just turn up on the day, but that's just me. You may like to look at them, check them out. You might even find YouTube videos of them. You never know on the on the YouTube. Check that out, and you can sort of see how they play. But I don't like to do that. I just like to do it on the day. But I knew at this last round robin part of the tournament, I had to beat the sixth match the guy who I was playing in the sixth game, guy called Malcolm. Now, again, he was very tricky, similar to Nigel, very consistent, and he was just putting it on my backhand right in the corner. Nothing special, didn't have huge spin on it or anything like that, but he just managed to put it there. And he'd put it there, and I'd run into the center expecting something on my forehand, and he just pummeled that backhand. And he kind of got into my head. I've got to be honest with you. We had some really long rallies in the early part of the match of that game, and I went down 3-8. And I said quickly, I said, look, I've got to change my tactics. I'm gonna be pummeled here. So I decided to be aggressive. So I decided to come into the net on every return. So every service return, I'd hit as long and consistently as I could to Malcolm's backhand and come into the net and basically say to him, right, I'm coming in the net. If you want to win the point, mate, you got to pass me, you got to lob me, or you got to hit it hard at me so I miss it. So putting kind of the onus on him rather than just staying at the back and trying to play my consistent game, which he was winning. So I had to change. So I did. I managed to change. I came to the net every return, and you know, did really well. I found a run of 4 points, and then I got another 1 or 2, etc. And we got back to 8-8. Now I knew I had to win this game. And I got to say, I think that pressure on me, you know, with everything there, and I looked over at Alan, who was on the sidelines, and he was just saying, you know, keep calm, and he was saying, keep it low. That he was sort of signaling to me like I was doing. So I thought, look, I'll keep going as I was to the same way I got to 8-8, but Malcolm was so consistent, and he just kept to his game. And he pummeled my backhand, and I lost it 11-8. And I'm thinking, I don't have a semi-final place, but you know, what a great day I've had. Congratulated him, nice guy, and toweled down, had a bit of a drink, had a chat to Alan. He sort of commiserated with me, but you know, that's all fine. We're all in it together. It's you know, it's not the end of the world. But anyway, what happened, what came to pass is that me, Nigel, and Malcolm all had lost 2 games. So that was very interesting. But I thought, I just felt, you know, I'd lost it. I was out of it. Well, what happened is that Lou, who helps to run Pickleball England, was the referee for that part of the tournament. And she put it into the computer and pressed the button on the algorithms. I don't know what you do. And it came to pass that Nigel came first and Paddy came second by 1 point. 1 point. And poor Malcolm missed out, and he came third in that round robin and didn't have a semi-final place. So I commiserated with him, but you know, we're all gentlemen, we're all honorable gentlemen, and everything was fine. The 3 of us became quite good friends at the time. But it was a bit nail biting sitting there while Lou was pummeling her laptop and churning the numbers. But excitement, I guess. So my God, I'm in the semi-final. I just honestly couldn't believe it. So, what are the lessons learned from those 6 games? Now, I'm not doing this episode, please, to be braggy, to tell you I'm brilliant, because I'm not. I just thought that you might want to hear it from my point of view and how I managed somehow to win this bloody medal. So, at the end of the 6-match round robins, what were the lessons to learn? Never give up. Never give up. If you're 10-0 down, never give up. You can get back. You can win that game. You can do it. Change your tactics quickly if you're down. Maybe not wait until you're 10 love down, but if you're 6 or 7 love down, change your tactics. Do something different. And if you don't know what to do, then hit it long and come into the net, whether it's singles or doubles. Say to your opponent or opponents, okay, we're coming to the net. It's up to you. If you want to win this, you're going to have to win it. Okay, we're not going to make mistakes. So that's a real lesson. So if you're being beaten, don't keep with the same tactic and possibly change to an aggressive approach. Go to the net and say, okay, here I am, see what you can do. Or here we are, see what you can do. So those are lessons learned from that round robin. Okay, so I'm in the semi-final. And okay, so I'm in the semi-final and I'm against this guy called Richard. Would you believe it? He's a giant. He's 6'8". I have a photo somewhere and I look like a very small person next to him. I am quite small. I'm only 5'7", but he was 6'8". Now, luckily, there's a guy at our tennis club called Chris, who's also 6'8". I gave him the nickname of the albatross because he's got such a long reach across the tennis net. And I have beaten Chris at singles over the years, and I've beaten him by putting the ball down to his feet and keeping it low. I mean, if you're tall, you've got to get down to the ball. And especially in pickleball, that ball doesn't bounce very high. So my whole tactic for that game, certainly on the backhand, was to cut the ball, lean in, cut it, keep it low and into the net. And also another tactic that I had was don't necessarily hit the ball all the way hard to the back of the court. Every now and again, hit not really a dink, because in singles, there's not a lot of dinking and resetting, to be honest with you, but just hit the ball quite softly so it sort of almost hits the kitchen line. So you bring the tall fellow up to the net. So I had thought this through when I realized I was playing a giant. So I did do that. I had a strategy. I had a tactic. I took my time. Now, this semi-final was a game to 15, win by 2. It's as simple as that. I took my time. But even when I was up 14-3, I was fully concentrated, right? I did not expect to win. I was sort of fist pumping a little bit. Come on, Paddy. Even at 14-3, 1 point away from getting into the final, right? Interesting also, I was up about 7-2 or something like that. And I thought, rather than just keep going, I'll actually get a bit more aggressive. And that helped, I think, a little bit as well, just to kind of knock the stuffing out of Richard, which it seemed to do. And I managed to win it 15-3. So, and you know what? I was over the moon. I went up, shook his hand, and I realized I'd won a bloody medal. You know, I had won a medal. So because winning the semi-final, obviously, I'd won a silver medal, even if I'd walked up the stairs and twisted my ankle or broken my leg, I would have walked home with a silver medal. So I was so pleased. Gave Alan a big hug, and it was just fantastic. And I was absolutely elated. It was a great feeling. But still, in the back of my mind, I was more relaxed because I knew I'd won a medal, and that was helpful. I thought, use that relaxation, take some deep breaths and just enjoy that moment, sort of almost celebrate the winning of a medal. I went up to Richard and his mates, and we had a bit of a chat, and I commiserated with him. And what a great guy. We had a lovely chat. And then I wanted to know who I was playing in the final. And I thought, I do not want to play that bloody Nigel again. I do not. He's too consistent. He's too good. But of course, Nigel he won his semi-final. Of course, Nigel won his semi-final, and we were both in the final playing again. And I'm thinking, oh, good goodness, good God, I do not want to play this gentleman again. He's too consistent, too good. Nice chap, but he's too good at pickleball. So what was I thinking? I suppose the main thing I was thinking, I've got a medal. So I was a little more relaxed. It wasn't the end of the world or anything. Um, anyway, we started the game. Now, this was best of 3 sets to 11, win by 2. So it was like a proper pickleball match, if you want. We had long rallies, just sort of trying to figure each other out. Especially when we were sort of 1-1, 2-2, long rallies. I kept consistent. He kept consistent. I was hitting my backhand with a slice down the line sometimes, but well into the court, because I had missed a few of those earlier, and they were like, you know how sometimes they curve out of the court. So I was doing that, but he was just stepping in, staying in there, pummeling my backhand. I didn't feel super comfortable, and consistency. We were both being consistent, and we all know that is a major part of this sport. Be consistent, folks, and we were. And then we got to 8-8. Now, I knew at that point that this was a turning point at 8-8. And I knew I had to win this set. I kind of knew that if I'd lost the first set, I wouldn't have won this final. I kind of had it in my gut. I had to win that first set. So much so that when we tossed up for serve, Nigel won it, and he won the serve. And I realized that as we were knocking up, I was facing all the busy area behind Nigel, all the other courts and people walking past and stuff like that. And so it's quite hard sometimes to see the ball when you got the busy area in the background. And because I kind of felt I had to win that first set, I went up to Lou, the tournament director, who was just there. And I said, Lou, if Nigel wins the toss to serve, can I choose ends? He said, yes, you can choose ends. So I actually swapped sides. I asked Nigel to swap sides, which was my right, so that in that first set, I was facing the very nice dark green curtain rather than the busy background. Now, getting back to that set, we were 8-8. And you know what? Having that background, I think, helped me hugely. And I decided to be aggressive. At 8-8, I thought, you've got to change it. I can't keep that consistency going, not against this guy, Nigel. He is blooming Mr. Consistent. So I thought, be a bit more aggressive. So I did. I started doing what I did in the semi-final against Richard the Giant, and I leant into my backhand and I was slicing it very, very low over the net. Um, and and you know, it just got a bit awkward for Nigel. And I won the next 3 points and I won it 11-8. And I knew in those 3 points that that was basically the whether I'd win or lose that final. I knew those 3 points were it. If I'd lost that, I don't think I could have come back. I just I don't know why. I just don't think I could have. Maybe, but I just don't think I could have. So in those 3 points, I kept focused. I was aggressive, but how can I put it? Is there such a thing as consistently aggressive? I don't know. Not really going for the lines, just trying to make it awkward, and I won it. But you know, won that first set, and yeah, won that first set, and I think the change of ends really helped. I had a drink, a long drink. I toweled down. Um, Alan gave me a bit of encouragement and just said into my ear, Paddy, keep it low. So got into the second set, a bit nervous, but thinking, oh my good, now thinking, you know, this is the final. I haven't been in many tennis finals, and this was my first, certainly my first pickleball final, my first pickleball tournament. Thinking, you know, how should I do this? Just stay focused, breathe, try not to overthink it too much. And for some reason, I kind of won the first 5 or 6 points. I kept focused, and I thought, look, just keep going. And then I decided I was 6 points up, maybe 6-1 or something like that. And I decided, look, I'm just gonna kind of try something a bit else as well on my serve. So I decided I'd try on the forehand juice side, if you want, of serve. So on the forehand side of serve, I hit some low wide ones, which I kind of was quite good at doing. And again, Nigel wasn't expecting this, I don't think, and he hit them up, and I managed to volley them away. Because that worked, I did it again, and it worked, and I did it again. So something, if you change your tactics and it doesn't work, maybe try it one more time. Still, if it doesn't work, go back to where you were and be consistent. But if it works, keep it going. So I just kept it going. But even when I was up, you know, some sort of 9-3 or something like that, even when I was up, I was focused, be consistent. I was breathing. I was taking my time. And I managed to get through. I managed to get through and win the bloody thing. Now, Nigel is an absolutely fantastic player and a wonderful guy, gentleman. And Nigel, I know you'll be listening to this, so I hope that's all pretty accurate. So, and I couldn't really believe it. The whole thing was completely surreal, especially getting through the round robin by 1 point. That was crazy. So other things that for me, for Paddy, what I do, and again, this is just me. I'm not telling you this is what you need to do. I'm just telling you this is my experience, and you may take one or two things away from that. What I do is, well, I did in Loughborough in that tournament, is I loudly called out the score every time before I served and before my opponents served. And before the match, before the game, I'd go up to him and I said, look, I'm going to loudly call out the score before you and I serve. I hope that's okay. And he always said, yeah, fine, no problem. Because I sometimes lose the score. We're all getting on in years, you know, and I lose the score. And it has been known in tennis matches where I've lost the score, and I'm sure my opponent has diddled me, and won the game when maybe they shouldn't have. And that's a lesson I learned probably 10 or 15 years ago. So I actually called out the score each time. That helped me. That was something that I felt was a good thing to do, but I did ask permission from my opponents. I took my time between points. So if the ball went over to the other court, I didn't start running for it and chasing for it. I just stood where I was, just kept my breathing, going, just kept it going. I went to the back of the court, especially when I was at the curtain end, right to the back, just breathe. And I kind of sometimes paced up and down a little bit, like you sometimes see those. So sometimes I paced up and down a bit. And that helped me. I did my breathing. I was focused as best that I could. I have a service routine. I have a serving routine. I bounce the ball a couple of times with my paddle. I look up, I hold the ball up, make sure my opponent is ready for it, and then I serve. That helps. Have a serving routine so that it gets you into a flow. That helps. So anyway, I hope this has helped you. Now, the summary: how on earth did Paddy win this national singles title, this English nationals singles title? Well, I'd like to say it was all mental strength and strategy, but there's luck as well involved. People say you make your own luck. I'm not sure. Maybe over your whole life. I don't know. But it was luck. It was mental strategy. I was focused, kind of knew what I was doing. It was luck. It was mental strength. I was focused, took my time, did my breathing, didn't rush. I don't really think of much when I'm breathing. I'm just breathing, sort of getting into that yoga thing if you can. And strategy. Before each match, I knew what I'd try and I knew what I'd do when that didn't work. At least have one other plan B. If you have a plan C as well, that is really good. I was willing to try new things quickly. So when I'm down, when I was down by 4 or 5 points, I try something a little different, but still trying to keep it as consistent as I can. Obviously, if you get aggressive, your consistency goes a little bit out of the window, but you try and be aggressive and consistent as you can. I'm chatty. I talk to everyone. It's just who I am. That helps me. So I chat to people. I say things like, oh God, I'm really nervous. Please be good to me. So I do I use a bit of psychology on opponents? Yes, I probably do. I said it was my first tournament. I was saying I don't really know what I'm doing, which worked maybe for the first 3 games until people realized maybe this bloke sort of does hit the ball quite well. But in the game, I concentrate. I'm not chatty. Having said that, if my opponent hits a good shot, I'll say, good shot, mate. That was fantastic, and I'll clap them. Certainly. I had Alan there, my pickleball mate from my club, to encourage me, and that was a great help. So all those things combined to help me win this medal. And I am really trying not to be braggy, but I did. I won it. Ha 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 ha. Woo-hoo-hoo. So I just still don't know how, but I had a great day. Thank you, everyone, Thank you, everyone. Thanks to my opponents, David, Stephen, James, another David, Nigel, and Malcolm, and especially Nigel, whom I lost to and then won to in the final. Whom I lost to and then beat in the final. What a great guy. We've exchanged WhatsApps. We will definitely be meeting again. So, hope that helpful. I hope you didn't think it's Paddy being braggy. Just wanted to share my experience, and hopefully you can take away one or two pointers. Okay, everyone, listen, we'll leave it there. You take good care, and I'll see you on court. Bye for now.